like if I commit a crime, I'm the only person with a beard like this. Like they're gonna know. Like they'll be like, we know you did it. Like, so I have to be careful when I drive, like or like, everything. Super careful.
They've already printed a most wanted portrait, right?
Oh, it's coming. It's
Yeah.
either the poster or it's gonna be for running for governor posters. All
Okay.
right, Alex, hit us with a joke.
All right, Kevin. So my
Yep.
friend told me this joke just recently.
Mm.
Um, what is the situation when two men mansplaining to each other cold? So
I wouldn't be familiar with the situation.
it's a podcast.
Okay, so my name's Kevin, and and I live in Inaka. That's how we're gonna start this. I live outside of Tokyo in Japan. I live in Yamanashi, and you are?
And I'm Alex, and I no longer live in Inaka. I used to, so I used to live in Chiba, which I guess is considered Inaka or countryside to some extent. But now I'm back in Australia.
I guess it's the cheapest part of the like almost part of the greater Tokyo area
Mm.
or GTA, and maybe a good starting point is I think both of us have a unique perspective on life in Japan, but
Mm.
you're no longer here. So I'm curious, before you decided to move to Chiba, what was your impression of the idea of moving
Mm.
to Chiba? And then what was it relative to your impression?
Okay, I have to be honest here, full transparency. I had never actually been to Chiba per se before I moved there. So I've obviously traveled to Japan several times, but and it was always through the Narita airport, which is technically Chiba, but you usually never stay in Chiba. So you jump on Narita Express or one of those rapid trains, and you go straight for the Tokyo station. And my impression was that Chiba isn't that much different from Tokyo, to be honest. So that's why when I considered where to get an apartment, I thought Chiba would be a good compromise because it's not that far from Tokyo, but at the same time, the rent is significantly lower. And
How far was it from Tokyo? I don't remember your commute time.
let me see. So if it's not a rapid train, which there was no rapid train to Tokyo Station from where I used to live, but there was one from Ichikawa Station, which was a 30-minute walk from where I used to live. So that rapid train would take you to the Tokyo Station in about 25 minutes. Um,
Okay.
yeah, which was pretty good. But then you also have to get to the station. And if you take a train from my station, which was Motoyawata, I think it was about 40 to 45 minutes to Shinjuku,
Mm.
something like that.
So you're using. So if we're gonna use Shinjuku as the reference point, so 45 minutes to Shinjuku. When I lived in Yokohama, it was almost a straight train to go to Shibuya and Shinjuku Sanchome, which is pretty close to Shinjuku.
Mm.
But that would take about a little over an hour. Did the 30 minutes or 45 minutes feel long for you, or
Yeah, it did.
because
It's a good question. So I actually made a video about that a while ago, and I don't think I explained my point there really well. It's obviously not long by any stretch of imagination, right? Like it's a 40-minute commute, and a lot of people living in Japan or living in other countries, it takes them much longer to commute to where they work. But the thing is, because I used to work remotely, and I would only go to Tokyo either on the weekend or after work. It
mm,
kind of feels long if you only have 3 to 4 hours to actually do something. So,
yeah,
all in all, walking to the station, commuting to Shinjuku, etc., would take you about an hour.
oh, I get that. I feel like if you're going to compare, like, let's say you have to drive 2 hours to go to work versus 45 minutes, of course,
Yeah.
the 45 minutes is nice, but 45 minutes versus zero,
Yeah.
which is what remote work is, it feels like a chore. So I guess that being said, working from home, you're working from Chiba, pretending like you could pretend your office is there. But then, like, what was life like around Chiba?
Yeah. So that's
And maybe it's not Chiba, maybe it's specifically your station or your area, because I mean Chiba's a big prefecture.
Yep.
So let's not be mean to Chiba. Chiba didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually think all this hatred towards Shiba is somewhat unjustified. Like a lot of people, especially if you read some of the comments on YouTube, a lot of people experience this very harsh hatred towards Shiba, and I don't really subscribe to that. I think it's a nice little place if you talk about Chiba City, but Chiba is a big prefecture. So Chiba City and Chiba Prefecture are two completely different things. And I used to live on the edge of that prefecture. And Chiba City was actually further away from where I used to live than Tokyo. So yeah, so like where I used to live, it felt like inaka, in the sense that you wouldn't see any foreigners walking around. So like if you go to
Okay.
Shinjuku and Shibuya, obviously it's overflowing with foreigners all, day in, day out, right?
Are we gonna define what inaka is then? So first level, you gotta have no foreigners. That
Yeah.
means you're inaka,
Yeah.
or outside of Tokyo's,
That's right.
as they say.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So the number of various types of facilities goes down gradually as you cross the border between Tokyo and other prefectures. So you no longer see as many as many clubs or izakayas or pubs or that kind of stuff, and shops like grocery stores, restaurants, they become a lot more uniform. So they kind of converge towards your typical run-of-the-mill Japanese fast food, if that makes sense. There were a few. So Chiba has a big Indian population. I think. I think there are some areas in Chiba that are primarily populated by Indian immigrants, and because of that, there's a lot of Indian restaurants, which I really appreciated because Indian food is nice. But there's not much diversity apart from that. So it's mostly Japanese family restaurants like Saizeriya. There's nothing wrong with Saizeriya, but it's when it's the
There's
only
something
option.
wrong with Saizeriya.
There is something wrong with Saizeriya.
Yeah, if you're like a 40-year-old man, which you're not, but if you were a 40-year-old man and you're going to
Yeah.
Saizeriya and you're having the pasta and the I don't know, wine for 500 yen, that's not the life that I think.
Yeah, that's probably
Exciting.
probably something wrong with you, not Saizeriya.
But like a lot of students go there and they study there. I think the reason why a lot of Japanese people visit like Denny's or Saizeriya, those are like very common, is because it's like a space you can just occupy and then do your thing without being interrupted. So I think that's why it's there, but that's definitely not where like you might want to hang out. I get it. But where did you end up ever hanging out? I think anywhere in Chiba, or was there ever anything except the convenience store that you'd go to?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. We did go to a couple of places. There was like a community center nearby that had a table tennis table for hire. So went and joined a couple of activities there. There were some other places. I can't actually remember all of them, but there wasn't much. It was like a real industrial area. Just to give you a sense, across the road from where I lived is the TDK's. It's either main office or one of their like research facilities or something. So like it's a big industrial area full of concrete. So I complained about that in my video. There were like there was no greenery to be found literally anywhere on the street. So it's all concrete everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be quite depressing, especially like
Yeah.
you lose the benefit of living outside of Tokyo and don't really gain the benefit of having like access to
Exactly.
nature. I think
So
not Chiba,
what you've just
that
said,
station specifically.
yeah, exactly.
Because we keep saying Chiba, but I feel so bad. There's so much like greenery and like surf area in Chiba on like the north part, but it just you happen is it called Ishikawa where you lived?
Yeah, so near Ichikawa, it's called Motoyauta Station, and
So the closest big
yeah,
station would be Ichikawa or
Ichikawa is the biggest.
yeah. So I feel like that whole area, like you said, is very industrial.
Mm.
Like it's maybe like if you had more insight into like what's going on in Chiba when you like first rented the apartment or place where you lived, would have been easier to have a good time. But honestly, based on what I heard from you and your experience, it did not seem very salvageable. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, what would you do if you were to do it over again? You have your remote job. Where would you pick to live?
Yeah, I have been thinking about that a lot. One thing that I want to say that kind of aligns with your point earlier is that was sort of like what would you call it, a middle ground, but it wasn't nice. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not yet countryside. In the sense that there isn't much greenery, you can't really go out and like camp and enjoy nature. But at the same time, it's not really a bustling big city, so you don't get like all the fun stuff that comes along with the city. So I would probably choose one of the extremes. I would either go closer towards the city where all the fun is, because as someone who doesn't speak really good fluent Japanese, I obviously prefer to be closer to where all the foreigners congregate.
Your
Yeah,
homies.
yeah, exactly. So either that or go the complete opposite direction towards nature, so that I can like build a house and enjoy life in the countryside.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Build a
Yeah,
house and drink it. That's like the final. I feel like that's the
yeah,
the
that's the
final
final. Yeah,
stage.
yeah. Retirement.
Um, I think skipping from like being a fully remote like engineer to building a house inaka with your wife and small child, it's a few steps that you probably want to go through in the middle. But it's so I moved around a lot when I lived in Shinjuku in the beginning. Well, not Shinjuku. There's a station that's like a few stops away called Sasasuka. That's where I first kind of came to Japan, and I lived in a share house with like, I don't know, a few people, but I had my own tiny 15 square meter room with like pretty tough tough appliances, or limited, let's say. I learned through kind of all the different moves that I had that basically Tokyo is where everybody wants to be because that's where all the money is. The money
Exactly.
means like restaurants, entertainment, whatever. But not everyone can afford or wants to afford, including myself, to pay the exorbitant kind of like rent and fees or whatever for living in Tokyo. So what happens then is that places like Chiba, which are a little bit farther away than being inside Tokyo, like you said, like 30 minutes, 45 if you like maybe really like get it down to an art. Um, and I noticed like those towns that are convenient for living to get to Tokyo are really tough to live in. They're built in order to kind of keep Tokyo running, and nobody stays there for the local community things. Like maybe there's table tennis, like you said, but maybe they're populated with like grandparents or old people that are just trying to like enjoy their local life. But other than that, everyone's trying to get to Tokyo, right?
Yeah,
So
that was my
moving
impression as well.
from right, moving from Shinjuku to Yokohama was my first kind of big step. And the reason why Yokohama, for example, is different from Chiba is, or at least from your town, your station in Chiba, is because Yokohama is the second biggest city in Japan, and it's centered around one point, which is the bay.
Mm.
And because of that, it's actually more like walkable than Tokyo. If you wanted to do something specific, like, I don't know, go shopping for like fashion, you would go to Omotesando in Tokyo. And actually, if you wanted to shop for fashion in Yokohama, you only can really get it in the small inner part of the city. But at least anything that you can and want to buy, maybe not the most premium things, but you can find there. And that's why like Yokohama was a really interesting place to live, because it's like an interesting middle ground between living, like, people in Yokohama live to go to Yokohama, not really to go to Tokyo. They still go to Tokyo often, and there's a lot of business between Yokohama and Tokyo. But you can have a nice life in Yokohama, which is why I tried to pull you over to Yokohama before you left for Australia.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and I also feel, having been to Yokohama a few times, but obviously have never lived there, I also feel there's a lot more diversity. So, not to mention all the foreigners that, you know, is something that I have not seen in near my station, uh, but also the bustling Chinatown, which kind of adds this cultural richness and also a lot of diversity as far as Asian food.
hmm. Yeah, somehow like there was a lot of like small local stores that are possible, I think, in Yokohama that might
Mm.
not be possible in Tokyo just because the rent is
Yeah.
lower. And there's a lot of people to buy those things.
So,
Um,
for you, how did it compare moving from Tokyo to Yokohama? Like, actually, let me rephrase that question. Where did you feel more comfortable?
so I feel like in my life, everything is always extreme. When I was living in Tokyo, I was living in Shinjuku, um, Ichome,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the first district. So in Shinjuku, in the first district, and specifically like right next to the national park. So the rent was more expensive than I'd say like normal, but the building was a bit older. So we had kind of like the nice benefit of having a slightly bigger apartment, which was 45 square meters. 45? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, it was 45 square meters for both my partner, my wife, and I. And then living there for 2 years, it felt kind of tight because you just can't really, you know, there's not there's not enough space. 45 is reasonable in Japan,
Mm.
but it's tough to live in. And so, like, I thought I don't really want to spend more on rent, and especially during COVID, there was a chance to work remotely, and I thought let me maybe move a little bit away from the city. I didn't think I would move to Yokohama, but one of my friends suggested it. He said, "Ah, man, there's these sick places like Antenna America. There's like a beer place there.
Oh yeah, I
You know,
remember that.
yeah, it closed down, then it opened again. So like, and there's a lot of like the things that you kind of want from Shinjuku. They had them there, and so I thought, oh, maybe we can give it a shot. I did. I visited there by train. I did some wandering around the city. I was like, okay, let's talk to a real estate agent. Let's find a nice place. The other thing is, I have a cat, so very few apartments are pet friendly and foreigner
Mm.
friendly. This is like the double whammy in
Yeah.
Japan. If you have a cat and you're a foreigner, they don't want you. But we were able to find kind of a really nice apartment that was 65 square meters and really also in the center of
Mm-hmm.
Yokohama, so we could enjoy all of the nice kind of local restaurants and things. So I think had you moved to Yokohama, you would have had a better life, perhaps.
I believe you. I believe you, and it may still happen. Who knows? Um, but yeah. So what's very interesting in your story to me is that you were in a big city, and then you moved to Yokohama, which in your eyes at the time seemed like a reasonable enough compromise. So it's not that far away. It has most of the stuff that Tokyo has to offer. At the same time, you can get more bang for your buck as far as apartments go. So it was kind of like a good middle ground, right? But then you decided to ditch all that and move to Inaka, which is like the complete opposite side of the spectrum. So, like, what changed?
Yeah. Well, kids. I mean,
Okay.
kids changed. Kids. I saw, like, I visited one of my friends when I was living in Yokohama, and he just had a kid. And I went to his apartment. He lives in Jugaoka. And his kid is, I think it was about 1 year old. And when I visited, I brought some beer, some food, and we sat. And he had a little circular rug on which his son was lying. And he was like, oh, my job is to watch him and make sure he doesn't move, like from the circle. And then we sat there eating. And I was thinking, like, I'm probably going to have kids sometime soon. And Jugaoka, it's like a really nice place. But being in a 55 square meter apartment, which though bigger than my Shinjuku apartment, was smaller than my Yokohama one. And even in Yokohama, 65 square meters feels quite small if you want to have a kid, to me. I thought it's like a prison. You have this small apartment and you're trying to live and raise a child in a very confined space. Coming from abroad, where like in European cities, we have very tall ceilings. And so you kind of get a better, I don't know, more air, space, I don't know what you want to call it, but kind of a better living experience. And I thought, if I'm living in a small place with my family and like a son, it would be really kind of tight and uncomfortable. So for what? Like to have access to restaurants that I couldn't go to because I'll have a kid and then they were not going to let me in with a kid, right, to a fancy restaurant. And then I thought, well, what about the services around? You have to fight for like childcare. What do you call it again? Like nursery school and stuff like that. You'd need to like apply for them, and yeah, that's the one. And I thought like it would be unpleasant versus Japanese towns are dwindling. Not all at the same rate, not all at the same time and to the same degree, but there's fewer people there. So why not go, since I'm also working remotely like yourself, to a place where I can have more space, there still have access to some kind of restaurants, and be able to enjoy like nature while having more space to raise my son. That was basically kind of the thought. But I think kids aside, like kid is a good excuse. It can be a good reason to like say, like I wanted to move outside of the big city for my kid. But actually, if you think about like quality of service or quality of life, living, right? It can mean a lot of things to different people. In Tokyo, I remember there was this one moment. I was living in Yokohama at the time, and I was waiting in line in a Tokyo cafe. Everyone at the cafe is well dressed. They have some kind of money. They're not poor, but they're not rich. But they're waiting for their coffee, and I'm one of these people. And like there's like 15 of us, and I just wanted a coffee. I had to wait in line for like 30 minutes to get a cramped, tiny table, sit there, have this coffee, which was exorbitantly expensive and not that good in terms of like a quantifiable quality of coffee. It wasn't like specialty coffee. It was just a normal coffee.
I know how bad coffee in Japan can get.
Yeah. Well, that could be a whole separate thing between Melbourne and Japan, but it was kind of like, why am I in this line? Why am like I want a coffee now, but I don't want this coffee. But if I don't want this coffee, I need to look around, and then there's other people. So it was like, if I'm going to want to consume something, isn't it better to consume it where there's fewer people, but it still exists, perhaps a better quality? Yokohama was the perfect example to that, because though there are some nice coffee shops there are fewer people, and like in terms of like crowdedness, so it's easier to access that. And let me tell you, compared to Yokohama, there is no crowds in in Kofu. No crowds. It's just I come, I get the coffee, and I'm like, I want this coffee, and then they give it to me, and then I'm like, great. I sit down, it's nice, and then I
Mm.
leave, and the price is like 30% cheaper. So um, that's the real kind of question I
Yeah.
think about the choice to live between those different areas.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get this feeling. It's like when you spend too much time in the city and you get used to all the background noise, like the ambient noise all the time. You go to bed and you hear this like 20, 30 decibel ambient noise. Well, you stop noticing it, right? And then one day you go to the countryside and it's quiet, and it makes you feel almost uncomfortable. Um, but like you get used to that. But then when you go
Mm.
back, you notice the ambient noise immediately. It just jumps at you. So I
Yeah.
know that you recently went back to Yokohama, to Tokyo. Well, what was that experience like? Did you experience any reverse cultural shocks, so
Ambient
so to
noise?
speak?
Oh,
Yeah.
there was some ambient noise. Well, the thing is, I I might not have noticed it before as much, but when, I went to Yokohama with my son,
Mm.
and I don't want him to wake up if he's asleep. And then I don't think about noise, but when I think about I don't want him to wake up, I think about there better not be any noise around, and there was tons.
Right.
I think a loud motorcycle passed by. Yokohama has more cars and motorcycle streets because I think it's like an automotive related city, or just
Mm.
people. There's just more people, and it was really loud. And then there was an ambulance, and even when I lived in Nakaku, which was really close to like the center. There's like a hospital not too far away, so I actually heard the ambulance quite often, maybe at least like once a day or once every 2 days. But it's just because it was fairly close to the hospital, and it was loud. Out here, the only ambient noise is like the frogs. Apparently, it's summer and the frogs are growing in the rice paddies. So then you hear the rah, 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 like sound at night. But other than that, well, it's not the peak of summer. So then we're gonna get the bugs.
Mm.
What's it called? The semi. The what do you call it in English? Do you know?
Cicadas.
Cicadas. Cicadas. Cicadas. Which, whichever. But one of those. It's definitely going to start
Yeah.
like harping soon, but it's also going to happen in Tokyo, Yokohama. But I feel like I'd prefer the sound of nature. It sounds like
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
flexing, like, oh, everything's so good here. It's not perfect. I don't think living outside of Tokyo is good for certain kinds of people, specifically bachelors,
Mm.
um, or people that don't speak Japanese. I think those
Uh,
two are really tough to live here.
let's explore that a little bit.
Sure.
Um, actually, because the latter is such a big topic, I actually want to start with the former. Uh,
Yeah.
Bachelors. So you were a bachelor when you lived in Tokyo, right? Now you're
At
no,
some point,
no,
yes.
yeah, you're no longer a bachelor here.
I
Uh,
was a Shinjuku boy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So talk to me about that. Tell me what do you think the difference would be for a bachelor? Like there are some obvious things, but perhaps not so obvious ones.
Well, I think priorities change like drastically. Bachelor doesn't need space. You was literally called a bachelor pad, right? It means
Mm.
like small place where you live. You just have a bed, and that's actually where I lived when I was in Shinjuku by myself. I lived in a 25 square meter apartment with just like a bed that converts into a couch. So at that time, space is small, so it's fine. But you go downstairs, there's a coffee shop like a few meters away from the
Yeah,
entrance of your building,
Com-
restaurants
communal
everywhere. You
areas,
want to,
right? Yeah.
yeah, you can meet up with people. You can meet up with friends in like a matter of 20 minutes. But the moment that you're here, um, there's only about 200,000 people in this city. So with 200,000 people, the amount of young people, though not that low, I think relative to other Japanese cities, there's still quite a lot of elderly, and people that speak English, almost none. I would
Yeah.
say there's an occasional person, like a foreigner that lives here. A lot of them speak some Japanese, but those that don't, I think there are very few places that are only
Mm.
using English. So it would be hard for them to find other people that they can relate to because, the expectation is that, you speak Japanese, which is the local language.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So you either have to speak very good Japanese or be an extreme introvert that just wants to be away from anyone.
Well, it's not like you have to speak really good Japanese, but you have to be able to communicate
Mm.
somehow. And the expectation is if you expect the other person to speak English, it's gonna be like pulling teeth. Like
Yeah.
the stress or the fear or the not wanting to do that kind of feeling from the other person, like people just avoid it. So it'll be like a high stress situation for them. Maybe similar to a foreigner who's like trying to like rent a car, but
Mm.
then they can't tell what they want to the person who rents them the car. They would also feel very stressed, right? So I think it's the
Yeah, of
same thing
course.
for Japanese people.
Yeah, yeah, of
Um,
course.
and
Um,
then
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no.
I can cut this
See,
piece out.
who's mansplaining now?
I will leave that in.
Leave it, leave it.
Uh,
Um, what's it called? No, I just think like speaking Japanese opens up all the doors. You can you
mm,
can have friends that are outside of your like kind of English speaking circle. It just you basically go from being able to talk to like 1,000 people in this town to being able to talk to 200,000 people.
mm,
It's a big difference. You can find more relatable people or people with similar interests. So yeah,
yeah,
you don't have to speak Japanese, but it's just so much easier that if you don't, then Yokohama or Tokyo or maybe Osaka, like I don't know enough about life
mm,
there, but that's also probably
yeah,
necessary.
yeah. Let's not talk about Osaka now. I think it's
No, we don't
completely.
talk about Osaka,
Yeah,
not on
no,
this channel.
yeah, yeah. We don't talk about Osaka. It's all Kanto. It's all Kanto. But like Japanese language aside, what was it like socializing with the people in both Tokyo and Inaka? And I honestly hate generalizing more than an average person. But just drawing from your experience, like where did you find it easier to socialize and find connections?
Um, so I think when it comes to like socializing connections, it's not really about the language or even the location. It's kind of about you. And for me,
Yeah.
as a person who has moved around a lot, it's quite easy to just start up conversations with people. It's like in my character, so it really helps. I actually feel like I ended up knowing more people in Yamanashi in like 6 months than my wife's parents because I don't know who they hang out with,
Mm,
but I know, I feel like I know more people at this point. So they're just not so like going out types of people. Um, but in terms of like difficulties of like making friends and that kind of like if that's the topic, um, it's definitely easier to connect with people in Yamanashi or specifically where I live here in Kofu because I am kind of an enigma. First, I'm
right.
foreign, so like I'm already like if I commit a crime, I'm the only person with a beard like this. Like they're gonna know. Like they'll be like, we know you did it. like so I have to be careful when I drive, like or like, everything.
They've
Super careful.
already uh, they've already printed a most wanted portrait, right?
Oh, it's
So
coming. It's
yeah.
either the poster or it's gonna be for running for governor poster and post it on the wall. So what's it called? Yeah, like when I was in the onsen, for example, in Tokyo, I've been to a few like
Mm,
bathhouses, and when I go there, no one's gonna talk to me. No one's gonna say a word. There's like, okay, you're here for the bath. I'm here for the bath. We just don't make eye contact, and let's just have our like good day. Here, first time in my life, old guy like looks at me like I'm in the bath, looks at me, is like, "You speak Japanese?" Obviously in Japanese, and I'm like, "I speak Japanese." And then we had a conversation, naked in the bath, and he's like a dental, what do you call it, like technician, dental technician for like something
Right.
related to dentures or
Yeah.
something like that. I was like, "Hey, do you know any good dentists around here?" He's like, like this one's good, that one's good, and just easy to start up
Yeah.
conversations because I don't belong here. I don't really fit into what their expectations are.
Yeah,
So
to that guy, you are a mystery, right? But compared to people in Tokyo, and again, I'm generalizing here, people in Tokyo, I think, are a lot more reluctant to just strike up a conversation with you if you look different because they have seen a foreigner before, most likely. To them, you're probably not that much of an enigma. You're more of a scare. Like they don't really know how to interact with you. Whereas
mm,
people in Inaka, I feel like a lot more open-minded when it comes to foreigners. So like they don't know what to
mm.
expect from you, but they want to explore, if that makes sense.
I feel like, so that was my definition before, but living here for the last 6 months, I realized the pace is quite slow here.
Right.
The person that's living across from my wife's parents' house has been living there
Mm-hmm.
their whole life. If something new happens, they're like, gossip. What's going on? Who is
I
this man?
see. Yeah, that makes
That's like the
sense.
vibe.
Yeah.
So
It's the boredom.
it's it's more like, it's not the boredom. It's just new, right? It's
Mm.
just something different. And in Tokyo, things like coffee places, restaurants, whatever, they change every like couple weeks sometimes. Like you'll
Yeah.
see a place there and then it'll be gone. It's kind of like the mysterious disappearing island. Like you never know like if it'll disappear and reappear again.
Mm.
You go there once and then it's gone. It's happened quite a lot, and especially in the really kind of
Yeah,
expensive
because
areas because
Google
rent is.
Google reviews drop below 4.5 stars, so it's gone
I
immediately.
mean, forget about that. I mean, it's not even. You can have 5 stars. It's still not going to make it because the rent is too expensive and
Yeah.
there's not enough profit. But basically, people in Tokyo just like they don't have time. They're just like, I
Mm.
need to like do this, and there's always like a really strong intention. But people here, um, they have time. They have plenty of time. So they're like,
Yeah.
what's this? This is different in my environment. So let me check it out. Or in Tokyo, also, it's hard to have like a local community because people come and go all the time. There's like this barrier between even just like, I don't want to really go deep into the topic of trash collection, but like you got to separate your trash in Japan. But here, it's like super carefully separated into not just aluminum PET bottles and what's it called? Then the just burnable, non-burnable. There's also like milk cartons. There's like what's it called? Saran wrap or something like that. Like different types of things, and you have to separate them because the community is like watching because they're leaving their
Mm.
trash. They're like, oh, like Tanaka-san he's never recycling. He doesn't peel his bottles, a lazy bastard. So
Yeah.
you have this pressure, but also it's good because you're a little bit more connected with like how you
It's a lot
consume.
more communal, right?
Exactly. In
Yeah.
Tokyo, or even Tokyo or Yokohama, both places, I lived in a tall apartment, and in the first floor there was a little garbage room, and then maybe the person like organizing the garbage or like putting it outside on the right day, that person would know that like Tanaka-san messed up and he should have done the thing better, but Tanaka-san is paying his rent, and the person collecting the garbage can't really complain to the management company about the person unless something is really wrong, like they put something that needs to be paid to be thrown away. But it's quite, yeah, it's really close. Living out here,
Mm.
you have to like being part of this kind of community. In Tokyo, the community is like your friends and your work. That's
Yeah.
why a lot of people only have work friends in Tokyo.
Yeah, that is really interesting. That there's this psychological effect that I read about. Was it like a bystander effect? that sort of explains as the circle of people that you interact with grows. You kind of pay less attention, or you associate yourself less with all those people, because your close circle of people that you can feel connected or related to is probably less than 100, like tops. And
Yeah.
you can't possibly relate to all the people in the big city, right? Which is funny. So you were just talking about that anecdote with Tanaka-san. I was just remembering interacting with the people in my building where I used to live in Chiba, and I kid you not, the only person that was polite and nice to me and always said "Ohayo gozaimasu" was actually the person managing the garbage. So we had like a separate room for garbage, and I think over there garbage was also used to be separated to 10 or more different types. I don't even remember how many. So there were like 4 massive shelves on both sides of that room with sections on them. And every morning that guy would walk in and kind of sort it out, take some of it out depending on the day. He was always nice to me. He would see me from afar,
Maybe you did
wave
it
a
the right
hand.
way, and he was like, "Alex is good. He's a good guy. He separates his."
Probably, yeah.
Did you take the wrappers off your pet bottles?
Yeah, of course I did.
Of course, because he's a good guy.
But the other neighbors, most of the time, tried to avoid me, so much so that there was one salaryman guy, when we met eyes in the hallway, he would pretend that he didn't see me. So he would like glance at me quickly and then look away and just walk past me. So like I remember that still to this day. It's kind of like an anecdote, I guess.
But with it's very different here. I think I got more brazen now that I noticed people. People are just curious. Like kids, they look at me and they're like, "Hello." They probably think I'm like an English teacher, so they're like, "Ah, foreigner speaks English. I should test my 5 words with him." But like as I like pass on the street, like there's, for example, what do you call it? Like grape orchard. Like there's a lot of grapes in Yamanashi, and this is the season for growing them. And there are these 2 grandmas always like wearing like everything covered because it's pretty hot, and like they were chatting together, and then I was like, "Oh, hello," and they were like, "Oh, hello," and I was like, "Later, I'm gonna buy your grapes when we move across the from here." And they're like, "Oh, do you want to export?" I'm like, "No, just for my family and myself."
Do you want to
And
export? That's funny.
no, they're like, "Do you do import-export business? Why else would you be here?"
Yeah.
It's just really easy to start up conversations, and everyone's just naturally like curious. And then when you speak Japanese, it creates the really open door for them to talk comfortably, and then they're not scared. But if you don't, it kind of brings me back to the original point. I think it would be tough to make this move without that. I'm still studying like every other day, like 3 times a week. So Japanese is kind of a endless pursuit for some people.
Yeah. How long have you been studying Japanese?
Well, I've been in Japan for like 10 years, and I've been on and off studying for, I'd say, the whole time. But now I'm like fairly consistent, and the consistency is the most important part. And also, I'm over the middle hump where you can talk, like you can put together sentences, but the vocabulary is not enough. Now, thanks to like the house building project and also moving here, I've got enough
That's a lot of
words
practice.
to survive.
Yeah.
A lot of very strange words.
Yeah. There's a lot of practice. It's I think we will definitely do an episode or 2 on just studying Japanese language. I think just in the context of this conversation, it's just such a good social lubricant.
Yeah,
being able to talk to people in their native language.
but I think at the end of the day, like moving to Japan, living here, it's the same as any other country. You just need to like understand that unlike other countries, just people don't speak as much English. And
Yeah.
then if you can meet them on their language, then everything gets a bit easier. But in terms of like living in which cities, because that is the topic for today, I really think coming to Japan, like fresh from any other country, you need to go to like Tokyo. Like you should be
Yeah.
like you should have probably gotten an apartment inside
That should be a
the JR
landing
line.
point. You should
Yeah,
be there first.
exactly. And after that, you can do whatever. Like I explored, I stayed a little bit away from Tokyo at some point in a station called Hiyoshi, which has a university there and not much else. But you try out different things and you figure out what's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the beginning, you start with Tokyo, and then branch on out.
So there's one more thing that I kind of want to do for the listeners here to be able to compare your two lives in the big city and in not so big city and in the lack of a city. That's where you are now.
Yeah.
So can you overall compare what your day to day is like? Like what kind of stuff do you do on a daily basis? Just try to remember your life in Yokohama, maybe in Tokyo, and currently. Like I understand that the situation is different now, but still there are some similarities and differences.
Um, how is it different? I think it's almost so between Tokyo and Yokohama, it was quite similar. You know, morning breakfast at home. Then let's pretend in Tokyo I worked from home, but in the beginning I worked at an office. But let's just pretend the office was at home. It would have just basically been the same. Uh, Grab lunch outside the house. Lots of restaurants nearby. Same thing in Yokohama. And then when you finish work, depending on what's scheduled, I like to do sports. So in the evenings, I would go to like some kind of either a CrossFit class or some kind of event. In Tokyo and Yokohama, I would say they're about the same. You can have good events and good restaurants and also fitness places. Yamanashi is quite different. In Yamanashi, or specifically in Kofu, I think the evenings are tough. First, it's a lot darker. So, like, there's just, I don't know, it just feels like everything's over at like 7 p.m. There are restaurants, but because you have to drive with a car, in the evenings, I don't really go out for dinners. So, dinners are usually
Right.
at home. I think that would be the biggest change. In terms of like, if you think about a morning routine, still I'm able to like find good lunch spots around my house. But instead of walking there, like I would in Tokyo and Yokohama, I would drive there. So then you'd have to have a driving license. So yeah, if you're coming Inaka, don't come without a driving license because converting it from like a non-Japanese partnered country would take a lot of effort and time. And if you don't have a car, it's like impossible to live here, or it's very difficult. At least a scooter or bicycle, but then the summer will cook you. And then any kind of evening activities, like I have still here, there's like sports, different kinds of classes. Like in the current case, I'm taking Pilates or yoga. There's a studio close by. I would just drive over there. Not much has changed. It's just the way it's done is different. In Yokohama and Tokyo, it just feels very different, and everything is like walkable. In Yamanashi or Kofu, nothing is almost walkable. It can be walked, but it's not really made to be walkable, so you have to drive there. But everything is basically the same in terms of that.
Right.
One big difference is on the weekends. If you were in Tokyo and you wanted to go out of Tokyo, it would be a pain because you have to go very far. But I'm already out of Tokyo, so if I want to go further out of Tokyo, like if I want to go to like Nagano to go snowboarding or something, it's like an hour or two away,
Yeah.
like door to door. So very convenient, and because this is a driving city, you have a car and just go without really having to plan
Yeah.
carefully the route with the train. So
Yeah, yeah.
that would be the main difference.
If you live in Tokyo and you want to go out on the weekend, you have to plan it in advance. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Not just because like a lot of facilities or hotels need to be booked in advance because of the sheer number of people who want to do the same things on the same days, but also because of the traffic jam ever present.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even if you're taking the train, which is quite common for a lot of people, train seats can just be booked out. If you're competing with everybody trying to leave Tokyo, um, you might have to stand in like between
Mm.
the train, which is quite uncomfortable. So everything is really rewarded for planning. Um, but living here, I don't think there's sometimes restaurants are closed, which
Mm-hmm.
I was unexpectedly closed, like for whatever reason. But other than that, like you don't really need to book, which makes it a lot easier to have spontaneous day-to-day life, which is actually the lifestyle I prefer. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to like plan too far in advance. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Same here.
So Inaka, come here for the spontaneity.
Yeah, but like overall, if I were to summarize this whole conversation so far, you may be living in the honeymoon phase still, but so far you seem to be happier, uh,
Hmm.
more relaxed. That seems to be more aligned with your values in this stage of life.
Yeah, I think maybe in like a year or two, like we can do a
Yeah,
revisiting
a
episode,
recap. Yeah,
look at clips of this episode and be like, it's not like that at all. Um, but I think what I saw at my friend's place back when I was living in Yokohama is kind of the truth. I think when you have kids, especially,
yeah,
space is something that you really want to have, and then access to like services without booking or whatever. Um, I think it really changes the way you work, and kids are very spontaneous. You can't really like put them into a like a I don't know cookie cutter box and just be like, stop crying now, and then I will feed you in 1 hour. Just wait. They're like, then they cry, they cry. So I appreciate the flexibility of the Inaka.
all right, dude. That's a good point to wrap up.
Yeah, wrap for today. Then let's catch you in the next one. Signing off.
Yeah, we need to
Peace.
work on that. We need to work on the outro.